Wrong one. Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities. And it's going to be really an amazing experience. And I look forward to you joining me on the job. Good morning, everybody. Welcome for a super early edition of Mental Health Today. That's because we've got the subcontinent online this morning. Really special show today. My name is Ken Stearns. I'm the host of Mental Health Today. And this podcast is really all about bringing people from all corners of the mental health space, mental fitness space, and really people sharing their experience, sharing their passion, what lights them up about mental health, what their path has been, and where they are today, what they're doing in that, about that, what their space is, or just what their current kind of experience and beliefs are. And my next guest, Ajay, is becoming a dear friend. I've got a soft spot in my heart for India, having lived there, worked there for more than 20 years. Been in more cities than 99% of Indians. I've been all over the country, eaten all kinds of food, and met so many beautiful people, so many great experiences. Ajay was a great gift to me, given to me by the universe. And to meet him and to be on his podcast about 3 months ago really burned a fire in my mind about how to communicate and how to use this podcasting platform. Showed me StreamYard and his low touch approach to contacting and having as much conversation with as many people as possible. And Ajay, as I told you on the show, I loved your approach, really appreciated it, because I do have a very heavy, intensive podcast project. Every podcast takes many hours to produce. And I love this because we can share so much information with such little friction. And I think it's just a beautiful concept. So Ajay, thanks for finding time in your afternoon, you're late in the day, and to visit with the audience and everybody, and really appreciate it. Why don't you share with a little bit who you are and what are you doing, what you've been doing, because you got a very interesting past, and you're a fascinating individual. Maybe share a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in India now.
Right. Thank you so much indeed, Ken, and it is a pleasure to be a guest on your show, and especially get to talk about things that we talk in our general life, but not on a show. I get to interview guests who talk about mental health, but I personally don't talk too much about mental health, and it is an opportunity for me to talk this aspect of it, because we are in a global world, and one thing that issues have become global, and mental health issues have also gone global. Yeah. And in India, where people were considered to be much more grounded and rooted, and which they are still, but mental health is becoming an issue even here. Earlier on, there was a lot of stigma attached to it. People, yes. I guess it is in many places, even in the Western world, where people are much more aware of these things. But even in India, now that awareness is coming up, and it is such a nice thing. But then there is so much to do. In my case, I've been a journalist for many years now. So earlier I used to work for other organizations, but because of this new technology and tools that the new economy, the content economy has provided, it has given me a space to go in as an independent journalist, and also as a content writer, as a writer, and as a podcast host. So a lot of time now goes in podcasting. I go for live podcasting and what we are doing live right now. So it is like, as I said once earlier in my show, that a live show is like living a new life, and because at that point in time you are yourself, and it gives you that chance to be yourself, make mistakes if you want to, but also at the same time, people like to have those lively people around, and I'm
yes.
sure. So that was that is what I am doing, and I've done more than 500 live shows in the
Wow.
since January 2022. I started doing live shows, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh.
And as I said earlier, I didn't even know before 2022. I didn't even know what how to change pixels of an image. Today I know. Today it has this whole podcasting thing has skilled me in many things, including the different tools that are coming up, including chat gpt and so many other things. So I think I it was a gradual understanding of all these things, and I'm very fortunate that I can still
Yeah.
be a lot of use, and these things I didn't have to try extra. It all came along the way.
Ah. It's gradual and then sudden. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure for you, you spent maybe 9 months just basically doing a live show, very simple stuff. And then all these tools come and a lot of, I'm now using chat. We were talking offline. I'm using chat GPT for these summaries. So I'll go and I can scrub your LinkedIn profile. And it's fun because in chat GPT, you don't have to put anything in order. You just cut and paste everything, all this junk out of order, different fonts, drop it into chat GPT, and it gives you just a beautiful summary of the person.
Right, right.
What is the, I mean, in India, I interviewed an Indian gentleman who had emigrated to the US, and he's in the mental health field now after being in IT. And he was talking about the stigma, in this, really in India, and not much different than American, kind of that suck it up, you don't show emotion. There's not always a lot of hugging and touching, in some households. Depends, I'm sure, north to south, east to west. In India is a big country, many cultures. But for him, very stoic family and not a lot of emotion. So for him to finally express himself as a child and, not be the studious, there's a lot of pressure in India on students as when they're 16, 17, 18 years old to perform uh, very well scholastically. Otherwise, the school you chosen to can impacts what career impacts career choices. There must be tremendous. I mean, how do kids cope with that in India? Is it becoming worse or is it becoming better?
Right, right, Ken. And we have to look at this issue from two aspects. One is the rural aspect. Where
Mm,
people have the chance. I come from a very rural background. I was born in a village. Now I have seen that gradual journey to a big city now in New
yeah.
Delhi. So I've been living in a big city, but as I said, all these experiences, the things that put you so grounded about things,
Yeah.
your reference manual is still those things about that you learned or seen things on the ground in your village or in your town. So
Ah.
we got to look at things from that aspect.
Yes. Yes.
Why the rural village, rural background, or countryside, or people who are living
Yeah.
in smaller places, and those most of these houses are horizontal, means they are on the ground. They are not
Yes.
villas, normal houses, but
Yeah.
single storied or maybe double storied buildings. So people are always interacting. And when you
Ah.
are interacting, especially in childhood, then
Yes.
that
Mm,
image will always be etched in your mind that
yes.
you are not alone.
Yes. You're
That,
not alone.
yes,
Hmm.
and that you have friends. And many of these friends, if you are fortunate or you have the wisdom to be in connection with them, that will always be those friends you can call at any point in your
Hmm.
life at any time in 24 hours. So that is what keeps you, always healthy in
Yes.
terms of
Yeah.
your you never feel alone. You have that system there. Like I have many friends from my town. I've not talked to them for quite some time, but I don't think that I need to even find an excuse, or okay, I was not in touch. They all understand. And when I go back to my town, it's like the old days. Earlier we used to be.
Yeah.
So that aspect, those people who have seen that aspect, they will be much more solid, much more strong, and
Agree.
maybe
Agree.
other things will come in their life, but they will still. Now, in the urban life, those same things are not always available.
Hmm.
That is the constraint. Now, here the buildings are apartments; they are vertical, and
Yes.
when you are vertical, it takes time to even connect with your next door neighbor. Many of them
Yes.
don't even know who they are.
Yeah, you don't know even across the hallway. You don't know.
Yes, yes. And that is the irony. We can't change this. This is how our human existence in cities have been. I don't know whether it is good. You have the good as well as the bad. But then these things lead to, the houses are small, the apartments are small, and not everybody can afford bigger places. So this
Yes.
leads to a certain way of isolation, and if you don't have that good social
Hmm.
circle, friend circle, and as well as the relationship circle, the family circle, that means that can be difficult. So
Yes.
I see that a lot of people who come from the smaller places come to bigger places. They find that need their time to for the transition, but they always have
Yeah.
that
And then they
reference manual in their hand. But for a person in the city, like a lot of people in India will say, listen, if this does not work out, I'll go back to my village.
yes, yeah,
He
yeah,
has
yeah.
that thing in your mind that there is somewhere to go, even
Yes.
if you may never go. But a lot of people in the urban areas may not be able to say the same thing. That is unfortunate, and that is where a special
Ooh.
care has to be. And the other aspect is that when children are leaving houses, then there is the older generation staying all alone. And that
Yes.
is the time, how much will you be on Facebook? How much will you be on those places? So there are many ways at looking at things. One
Hmm.
answer is not the right answer or the wrong answer, but at the end of the day, we as human beings need that social connection, and not social on social network, but the human connection in real life. That is all I can say.
You mean the Instagram connections don't is not a healthy thing for me? I cannot make
You,
real. I'm not
I,
making real friends.
I will tell you that there was something I read some time back. Is that if in a smaller place, if
Hmm.
you are not seen for say one day, your friends will start asking, where is this guy gone? But on Instagram, you delete your account and you are gone forever. Nobody is even going to even forget about asking you. They are not even, they won't even know it. So
They don't
they
even-
won't even know it. So those are different. Those are mediums to connect, but those are not your social circle.
it's not your social. How about yourself as a young? I mean, maybe what was your journey? What was it like for you to leave the village and come to the city? How did you get on TV? How did you become? I mean, that must have been a heck of a journey, and you
Yeah.
must have been very alone at times. You must have faced your own demons. Because this is not yesterday, right? This is 20 years ago, 30 years
Yes.
ago, maybe that
Yes.
you
Yes.
left. And I mean, you must, like I said, you had that social experience, you had that reference point, but still, you must have had some tough moments in the city as a young boy, a young man, trying to find your way.
Yeah, I guess I'm not the only one.
Y-
Most of the people who are coming to cities, especially from smaller places, and I can tell you this more from my personal experiences. I've stayed in a hostel when I was in college. And when
okay.
you are in a hostel, you get the chance to meet people
Yes.
from all across, not only your country but also from outside.
Hmm.
So you know how they feel. You are very young, after say 17, 18, and that emotional thing everybody feels, and you become uh, you become family, you become
You.
home for
Yeah.
a lot of people. And once you become home or family for others, you find a family yourself, for
Yeah.
yourself. Now that is it's not about giving. It is, you are in a way, you are also taking, if you are able to see it from the right way. I was fortunate from coming from a village. I come from a very joint family system, so I have seen big families where everybody used to stay together. So that thing was there. So yes, initially it was a bit difficult in the city, but then you know the purpose. You know the purpose that
Mm.
this is what you have come for. You have come here after say schooling. You have come here to study, and this is your purpose. And beyond that, you make friends. As I said, if you sit yourself in the room and wait for somebody to come for you, they will not. You have to reach out, go out.
Mm.
Once you are out, even on the park, in the park or anywhere else, or in communities, and get involved, you will find that you are useful to so many people. The person sitting at home who thinks that he or she is useless for anybody, for anyone in the world, will suddenly find that they are useful to so many people, and
I
that is where you start feeling not lonely. So that journey has been there, and I also faced the same thing. But then, as I said, from the hostel or even in career terms, I always had been very fortunate to have very good friends, very good circle, and but there are some things which you have to face alone. There are some things which you
mm.
will never be able to tell to anyone, or maybe
Mm.
only tell to one or two people. That thing you have to go through in life. It's just that you have to make yourself stronger and understand what are the things that need your thoughts, what are the things that you need to discard. Like for
Yeah.
example, in life, when we are driving, or when we are going from one place to another, there are so many things that come along the way, and you only remember what only things that matter to you. We got to
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
same with our thoughts. We got to do the same with
Mm.
our thoughts, and once we do it, then you will not carry all the garbage in your
Yes.
mind. And that is very important. That is where the part of self care comes. So my
Yeah.
grounded experience, or that manual, still helps me.
Yes.
That college thing helps me till today. So that ways I've been very fortunate. But then, as I said, there are so many things that you have to still bear with. But once your engine is strong, your machine is strong, it can bear the burden as you go along. So it has been a good ride, and
Yeah.
and ride is making is keep me it my life is, I'm alive and kicking, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Oh yeah, I think you're really in you're in a really sweet spot right now. You'd be able to really be able to pull all of your experience together. And as we talked, not sure where it's going. I love the idea that you've got a few things happening in this general direction, but I don't think the outcome is final for you right now. The final purpose and the final configuration, or the next, not the final, but the next version, right, of what's going to be. I love your story about people sitting at home and thinking, the value. Maybe they don't have a value or place in life. What's my purpose? And I love that. Just go out into life. Join a club, go anywhere, go to the library, walk around. Someone will start talking to you, and you'll find you are useful in this life, and you do have a purpose. But you're not going to find it without the connection,
Right, right.
without that human connection. I mean, that's such a good reminder. I think, the loneliness, um, there's a chart. There's a chart in America, and I think it's a global chart, but certainly the one that strikes me is the American version, and it just shows the time spent alone over your lifetime. So as a baby, it's like zero, and when you're like, 5 years old to 10 years old, it's maybe 10%. And as you go up, and when you get to be 60, the time spent alone is just shoot straight up. As you become an empty nester, if you're married, you lose a partner, as these life things happen, your time alone. And so I think it's even more important for older people to really get out there and have a purpose, a place to go and people to see, something kind of a daily routine where they are forming that connection. So critical.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. As I said earlier, if you are looking for support, then you become some support, and a
This is
lot
a
of support will
it's
come
such
your
a
way.
crazy concept, right?
Yes, there are many songs in India just on this, that Hindi songs and all, because those were emotional songs
Story,
people
yeah,
were
yeah. This and it's
but
also it's a
yes,
lesson, right? Also, the Hindi songs have a story and a lesson.
yes. So the same thing you have to. Life is not so complicated, Ken. It is not. And I have understood, even it's for the podcast also, like your podcast. Even I try to do the same thing in my podcast also. You don't have to make things very complex.
Yes.
It is okay. Everything is okay. And if it is not okay now, it will be okay tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah,
The bigger
exactly.
thing, there are bigger things to worry about. If my lights are
Absolutely.
not okay, at least the conversation is happening.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but there are, isn't it? But there are so many other things which needs to be okay. If we focus things on like that, on those things, you will find that perspective. Your Instagram pic does not have to get changed every day. That is
Yeah.
that is not okay. That is the part. Even I find it difficult to even think that that is the part for a lot of young people. Even in terms of the older people we talked about, you don't need to worry. You don't, if your kids are not settled, you can't do anything. They need to make it right, because they have to take that journey alone. Don't
Yes.
worry about them. All your job was to give them the right, show them the right path, but the final journey has to be of the traveler. You have to look at your own journey and travel. You need to find your own friends, and you need to discover your own friends. Like,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
example, I'll tell you, you talked about my podcasting. So yeah, I, coming from a television background, having worked with very good people, but still sometimes you find that how do you integrate all those things into the new world? Everything has changed. Media houses, mainstream media houses, they
yeah.
are going down numbers, and you may not find a place, but there is a place. If God has created you, there is a place for you, not just in the universe, even on
Mm.
earth itself. And then I found out that there is a place, and where I can utilize all the skills, and that was where podcasting. Today, uh, earlier on, there was hardly any communication happening with a lot of people in terms of content creation. But now, now it's a global family.
Yeah.
I certainly have found much more usefulness of the skills that I have learned in a refined way. You have to chisel it, and suddenly you
Yeah.
find that you can be useful to a lot of people, especially people who cannot afford big branding efforts for themselves, but simple people who want to talk about their story, talk about their products, talk about their services, talk about their book, talk about anything for that, and
Yeah.
those are my priority also. And suddenly you find, oh, this is something, along the way
Yeah.
you don't know what you have earned or what you have learned, and you become much more fulfilled. And this is something I can tell you, Ken, that now the later part of the journey of my life, you can see that suddenly the path which was very hazy, suddenly it's all light up. And let it there, you see thousands of bulbs on that road, and it's
Yes.
all, you can see things much more clearly. So my thing is that maybe I come from a different background. Maybe I come, my life has not been without problems, a lot of problems. I know sometimes we Indians are a bit conservative in talking about those problems, but at the end of the days, I can tell you, nobody remembers your problem and nobody remembers you, but you have to take care of the problems. And if you put up all your mind and resources and find your usefulness for others, the whole
Mm.
world will become useful to you. It is all about, everybody looks at solutions in today's time. You also have the capability to be a solution to a lot of people.
This part I just think is so beautiful. And imagine the healing you get when you find yourself useful to somebody else, even when you're in pain. Maybe even more powerful when you're in pain and you're making yourself available and useful for somebody else. The healing is going to be so powerful. Uh, the growth, right? This growth when you're helping. And I think this is this it's an interesting journey to find. You look at your path, and man, everything you were doing for 30 years puts you in this position to be. And funny is, you're too old for TV almost in India, right? And so now you come out of.
I, I won't say that.
Yeah, I can say it. I can say it. For the prime time, pretty face, right? We're too mature. Some places it makes sense, but I could see where they're going to shift to a different look, a different
Yeah,
quote unquote
indeed,
look, right?
indeed,
And
indeed.
and for you, how lucky, because as soon as you're on the side, a whole door open, a different world, and those poor people, the other people, they're stuck in that career right now. They cannot escape. And here you are with the it's like the wild west. I feel like we're in America, with the wild west, where they just said, okay, you run to the west, what you can steal you get. And we're in that moment with this kind of industry, this communications and this, I'd say podcasting, but just really this type of media is absolutely
Absolutely.
wide open for people.
Absolutely, Ken. And I was very impressed by the way you were going out on the road and doing interviews to so many cities. And if
Yes.
I remember, more than 400 interviews. That's the plan.
Yeah.
So that's so fascinating. Even it gives me a chance of storytelling. The medium
Yes.
is different, but storytelling, and when the
Yeah.
stories have the power to break so many barriers.
Oh,
And also it gives me a chance to listen. And I'll tell you, the biggest learning that I've got is that you know i i have I can listen to things better now.
I,
Earlier 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 I was okay listener, I can say. I am able to speak, but now I have got that, I have refined that capacity
yes.
to listen much more better. And that is, that gives chance to the other people, to the guests, to
Yeah.
speak about themselves. And
Yes.
when they speak, it also, you get those perspectives from across the
Mm,
world. So
yeah.
I'll tell you, Ken, I've never gone outside India. My passport has never been stamped. It lies there and it is expired, and I think I renewed it, but I have never used it. But I get a chance to talk to from people all across the world. Even my podcast, it's got in several platforms, it's 50-50 audience from India, 50%
I'm
from
sure. I'm
US.
sure.
So what better way of looking? If I had not gone out, if I
Wow.
had not approached this medium as a friend and not as a foe, or an enemy,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody, you would be just languishing. I would be worried about so many things. But today, every time I think of a podcast episode, as I said earlier on, that for me, a life is living a new life. In those
I.
20-30 minutes, you are living the life of with a fresh life with a person who will share about his life. You can
It's
ask anything about them. What better way to connect? And that creates a connection, that creates a story, that breaks all barriers of time and everything. And that is what you leave for the world. That
mm,
gives you everything, if you look at it that way. As I said, the world is as you see it.
absolutely. I just love that comment. Um, it has this. I'm doing the episodes that I do with the Jar, the traveling show. It's easy for me in a way. Now, definitely my listening skills for sure on another level. But that show's quite easy for me because the Jar has the questions and they're pre-printed. And so it's somebody else telling their story and I just listen, really. I facilitate. But this is a real interview show. I have to listen differently because sometimes the guest, gets lost and they'll just stop talking and they forget what they're saying. Right? And you have to give the guest some life, a rope.
Right.
You have to throw a rope to the person to help them. And
Right.
if I'm looking over at the painting, I'm not going to be there for the person and for the audience to drive a better show. So it is, and the part live, Yesterday I had quite a funny start with my show. I pressed the record button and I said something stupid and I stopped it and I started over and I laughed again. I started over a third time. And this one, there's no whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. No, I cannot pull it back.
It is
It,
okay. It
it's
is okay.
it is
That is why.
it's
Life is
okay.
like, yeah. And in fact, I'll tell you about the jar thing that you said that your job becomes easy. No, you have worked to make it easy. Life
Yeah.
is like that. Life is
Yeah.
like that. If I get up early in the morning and look at my phone and try to worry about the problems of the world, I will never be able to enjoy the sun rising. I will never be able to enjoy, the moon still trying to, set. And you, there are so many things you will not enjoy the morning cup of tea or coffee. How can you expect? So if you have made the jar thing simple because you thought it that way, if
Yeah.
you hadn't done it, it would not be simple. So
Yes.
these are the foundations. The mental health is also when you think or construct your life the way as simple as things. There are so many people who are worried about the colors on their walls. And at the same time, a lot of people in this world are thinking about going the Marie Kondo way or minimalistic way. Just see which life is simpler. So if you think about life much more simple, then a lot of, as I said, unnecessary stuff will go out. A
Yeah.
lot of unnecessary stuff goes out, you can see things clearly.
And you're
And that is
right.
what.
You can see things. A lot of noise. I had a lot of noise in my life for a while, and busy. A lot of very busy, very nap, not even sleep. Sleeping 5.5 hours, crazy. But noise, and I cannot see anything. And once I made my life more simple, you're right. When I made my life more simple, actually, a lot of these ideas were allowed this space to come out, show themselves.
Right, right.
Uh,
If you keep unnecessary people in your van and not the necessary stuff, and you throw out your mic and all the other thing, can you be connected to the world?
Absolutely not. I don't want to. I got to be careful who I let in my van, Ajay.
Absolutely. Same with his life. Mental health, you got to be free. Keep a
I,
lot of space here, and so that you can let fresh air to come into your life, fresh ideas to come into your life, good people to come into your life, and good things into your life. And you will see the life in a very different light, all fresh.
that almost sounds like some closing comments. What else you want to? We're about at the end of the time. What else you want to wrap up with? Any other kind of message for the audience?
All I want to say is that mental health issues are real.
Hmm.
While life, we can continue to make our life simple. At the same time, people are not everybody is as strong. Not every
Yeah.
plant is as strong. Even the strongest of plant, when they are growing, that they need that support, and
Yeah.
then they will grow very strong. So with that belief, I acknowledge mental health is an issue.
Hmm.
People have to acknowledge it in their homes, in
Hmm.
neighborhoods, in society, and whatever is being done about it, let us deal with the problem. Let us not just keep magnifying or make people fearful about it or and
Yeah.
destigmatize it. And
Yes.
once we do that, more and more people will be able to share their issues. And once they are able to share it, the solution is at hand.
Yeah.
And once that is what we need, human beings have that thing called, sharing. If we lose on that, if we lose on empathy, if we only focus on, machine learning, the machines are learning us, we are not learning about each other.
It's true. It's so true. Ajay, thank you for so many gifts. The gift of this idea for the show. This is really born from your idea. We hung up that call, I said I'm going to do the same thing. I love it, and here we are. I'm so excited. A couple months, just 2 months later, and I've got almost 50 shows put up, and it's really an inspiration from what you've done. And so I think, I hope that your idea leading me to this, maybe I can inspire somebody from picking up on your end, and maybe we can inspire somebody else together. It's just been great. Like you said, just the beginning of our friendship. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, Ajay.
Thank you so much, Ken. And don't give all the credit to me. It is your idea. When you ask the universe, it sends you something. And when it sends you something, it always needs a medium. And you can't give the medium all the credit.
Okay. I give you I'd sent the message. At least I was paying attention. I give myself the credit for paying attention and recognize it when it was in front of me. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for listening and supporting the Mental Health Foundation, the Mental Health Today show, supported by the JAR Foundation. There you go, Ajay. That's real life stuff you'd normally edit out, but in this show, it's all live, baby. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, loose, baby.
But we're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals at Public Glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glassblowing. Yeah, we're going to go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.